Hello, everybody. It is Coach Malcolm here today. I know you cannot see me. Unfortunately, I'm having some unfortunate camera issues right now, but I am getting it fixed as soon as possible. But I'm still going to conduct this video because it is sort of a more visual thing that we can go about doing. So this is, I believe, the fourth installment, the fourth in the series. That I'm going to be doing, in which I play out different openings. They're usually very, very weird openings. Spoiler alert, it is going to be another weird opening today. And the point is not really necessarily to teach you guys new openings, because most of these openings have been established to be not so great and pretty risky. So when you see these videos, your takeaway should not be, I'm going to go play that opening. The takeaway is more about sort of watching me play a live game, adapting to the circumstances that come with playing a new opening, learning how to develop differently. So we sort of go through that together as we go along. So let us get into our opening for the day. We have the Grob. So I thought who better to look at for an example than Mr. Grob himself. So this was a correspondence game from 1966. This is the Grob Opening, so named after this guy, Henri Grob or Henry Grob. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his name, but the Grob starts with move G4. So should you guys play G4 in your games? No, stick to your openings, okay? But we are just going to test this out. So G4, right, so Grob is going to, in the Grob opening, we also are going to sort of fianchetto our bishop. It's not exactly a fianchetto. We have that pawn on G4. C4 is an idea, so going for that center pawn. Taking in the center, queen B3 comes out, knight C3 I would assume as well, right? So focusing on this sort of center, attacking the center pieces. It looks like black has a lot more central control. Maybe we'll try and adapt to that in our own game, but sort of developing as naturally as possible. We don't need to go too far into this. We may launch a kingside attack, castle queenside, but why don't we try out our very own game? So I think I'm going to play 5-3 so we don't have a super rushed game, also because I'm going to be narrating it. And I think that's just the best way to go about doing this. I see. I have accidentally given myself a black position. So don't abort your games in real life, guys. But I don't know why it's on 3-check. Don't abort your games in real life. But we are waiting for our pairing with white. We can't get black. We're not going to go through and just have to wait forever in order to get black. Maybe I'll pause it and be right back. All right, we are back and we have gotten ourselves a match. So, like we said, pawn G4, we are playing the Grob opening for today. Bishop G2, like we agreed upon to continue. H6, all right, so here, we're not in what I would necessarily call unknown territory, but it's not what was originally played in the line, sorry. Here I'm just going to play, I think I'm going to play pawn C3. I'm going to try and get sort of a strong center, and we have this queen B3 option if we want to take advantage of it. All right, bishop C5, and now I think I am going to pick up a tempo here. We can pre-move. Okay, never mind. We don't have time to. Bishop B4. All right, why don't we just play knight C3? If they take, we'll just take back, and that looks like a fine enough pawn structure, in my opinion. All right, I do like this queen B3 move here. Let's get that queen out. It is a little early to be getting our queen out, but we're attacking the bishop. They're going to take. Fine, we'll take back. We have some pretty good central pawns, probably get in an E4 later, but we might not want to block in this bishop. We have possible threats on B7 that we could be using later. All right, they're going to play knight C6, sort of block off that possibility. That, well, maybe not, right? Because we could eventually maybe kick this knight, or we could take later on if we feel like that's the right idea. Here I'm just going to sort of keep it relatively simple. Let's just develop bishop F4. This knight may come to E2. So maybe E3 and knight E2, because I do want to keep this line open for the bishop, and then maybe H3 and kingside castle. That could be safe. It kind of depends on where my opponent decides to castle as well. Taking on C3 has made it so queenside castle is just not as good of an option. We're playing someone rated pretty much the same rating as my rating on Lee Chess, so that's pretty good. That's a An even pair up. All right, rook b8. They are pretty worried about this. That's good. We've gotten them a little worried. They propose a take back. All right, let's give them a take back. That may have been just a mouse slip. That tends to happen on online chess, you know, whenever I miss. All right, they said thank you. See, guys, manners are very nice in chess. In the chat over here, looks like they messed up. Mouse slipped. So let's just give them the take back. I tend to make mouse slips in my games, and I really appreciate when my opponents are nice enough to give it back. See, you know, I'm actually considering e4 here too. It'd be a pretty strong center. Maybe we get an e5 push in later. What do we think? What do we think? What are they saying? Bishop doesn't have too much of a future here. All right. Well, they're also attacking g4, so maybe we should take care of that as our primary goal. So let's just start with h3. Sometimes it's easy to overlook things like that. Make sure our pawn is guarded. All right, they're going to castle. Why don't we play? Yeah, let's play pawn e4. Pawn e4 looks, no, let's play pawn e3 because I don't want to run into anything with rook e8, any problems like that, especially before I'm not castled, targeting, you know, if my pawn was on e4 targeting that sort of, you know, I could have a possible issue where my king is pinned after sort of a rook e8 combo. The knight would be attacking e4. I only have the bishop, unfortunately, defending. It could just be tricky to deal with. We don't really need that in our lives. Knight e2, castles kingside looks fine for me right now. I'm not unhappy with this position. Obviously, it's a little weird to have this pawn on g4. I would. Usually, I'm kind of a very attacking player. I would like to castle queenside and do a kingside attack. It's a little riskier here just because this is so opened up. But it could, you know, maybe it could be a possibility. All right, our opponent is thinking, I'm glad, you know, I didn't want to play a bullet game or even really a 3-2 because sometimes they get very rushed and it can sort of throw away from the game. And again, guys, I apologize that my camera isn't working for this current video, but I'm getting this problem fixed in about 2 days or so. So it won't be a long-lasting issue. All right, rook e8, so we kind of expecting something along those lines. I think knight e2 still works here. We're going to leave this open for the bishop. We don't need to go knight f3 and get in the way. Also, just because this pawn is guarding h6, this pawn is guarding e5. Maybe the knight on f3 would have been fine. All right, they're going to retreat their knight. And now the question becomes, which direction do we want to castle in? The super risky way or the sort of safer, more collected way? The thing is, if we castled, I think we would run into a lot of issues with sort of a b5, b4 push, and then that would open up. But they are very cramped, and they can't even play b5 because of this knight. But I'm going to castle. Yeah, I'm going to castle kingside. Maybe we'll bring our bishop to g3 or h2. We could always push our f pawn if we want to once we guard this e3 square. Knight b6 is kind of an interesting rearrangement. I think they really are worried about this b7 square. Sometimes it's easy to get fixated on things like that. So they're worried about b7. So they're going to put that knight in the way to sort of deal with that. Fine by me. It's not really too much of a problem. I think here I'm going to play this rook over to e1, which you don't usually see as much. But I have a feeling these two files are going to be the ones that open up. So I'm going to try and do a little rearrangement with bishop g3. I don't want to play something like bishop h2 and then my knight to g3. That would cramp in my bishop on h2. So here I think it's better just, you know, yeah, to play something like bishop g3. All right, well, they're attacking our queen. It's annoying. So all of these squares are obviously covered. We don't really want to put our queen on this side of the board. I think something like c2 is a fine option, though. They're probably going to bring a knight into c4. Just put some more pressure on e3. Obviously, e3 is well protected now, but if we do want to do an e4 push or an f4 push eventually after we move this bishop, e3 is going to be something that we need to be considering. And now the question becomes, you know, where should we rearrange this knight? Oh, they're going to go back. That would not be my choice for a move. Guys, I do not want to take here. This bishop is doing a great job protecting my king. It's just a good open bishop. There's no way to trade it off for this knight that, as we can see, just does not have a lot of good options. All right, so I really do want to get this. I'd love to play something like g3, but I run into issues like pawn to g5, which is kind of tricky to deal with. Knight g3 would be super, super nice, though. That is annoying. All right. Maybe we should play... Huh. Well, why don't we first just play bishop g3? Bishop g3 is a solid move. It gets away any g5, intermediate moves that are going to occur. And it's just preparing us to sort of have some more pushes. Knight to e7. It's kind of interesting. I really do almost just want to start pushing these pawns like crazy, get a little action going in this game. I think that would be pretty exciting, honestly. Okay, so I am going to do it. I'm going to play pawn f4 and then pawn e4. And I think I'm going to play e5 after that, and we can take back with f if they decide to take. I'm not sure they will. All right, pawn c6. My opponent has been very, very annoyed by this bishop g2 the entire game. It's kind of interesting because obviously this bishop g2 happened because of our Grob move. I'm going to play e5 here. We're gaining a lot of space with our pawns. I like my position a lot here. Black is cramped. Look at all these undeveloped pieces. Every single one of our pieces we could argue is developed, even this rook. It has really only moved just the castle. All right, they think they are going to catch us with this knight e3. I don't think so. I don't really like where this knight is anyway, so why don't we just move that knight back? Knight c1, it's just going to allow us to not get caught in any knight e3 drama. We do have to watch our time a little bit. Let me keep that in mind. 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining. But yeah, like I was saying, this opening has worked out pretty well. It's caused my opponent a lot of problems. They are trying to sort of catch up in development here. Knight g6, I don't think is the best move. f5, this pawn structure is pretty crazy, pretty strong. Also, my opponent just does not have a whole lot of options that they can work with. I do like f6 here, trying to cause some problems as well. Keeping in mind any sacrifices here in the future. No, I'm not. I was thinking, maybe this knight c4 would fall, but that is just, it's not really a reasonable idea. Also, we do need to move a bit faster. I do like h4 as well, but I'm going to play f6 first. It does allow this knight to come back to g6, but then my f file is going to open up, causing a lot more problems. And I can also play h4, h5 if I want to apply more pressure, especially if they play something like g6. I think h4, h5. Well, it's interesting. A lot of times when you push pawns near a king, and it's risky. It's a little risky that I'm doing this, but I'm pretty well protected, even though I'm castled kingside to do a king-sided pawn storm like this. But something like g6, h4, and then if I got h5, and my opponent can play g5, and it locks it up pretty well, especially because this knight does a great job guarding these squares. So you kind of have to play these things very carefully. You don't want your opponent to have the opportunity to lock up the position. All right, so they are going to play g6. I kind of like this move, bishop f4 here. And the point of bishop f4 is we're going to target this h6 pawn, and we're going to almost bait them out with g5. And then we would go back to g3, play h4, and open up a lot of space in their king side. And of course, we're opening up space in our king side as well. You could argue that 100%. All right, knight g6 is annoying because it stops our h4 temporarily, I would say, not sort of definitively. It is a pain, though, I will admit, because we want to play h4. All right. We're getting sped up by the clock. How should we continue here? It's a little tricky. I'm going to play knight to b3 for starters. We may sort of go on a bit of a journey to f3 and play h4. That might be a little too much, though. I also just sort of need to get a move in, if we're being completely honest about what is happening here. Hopefully the outside world is not too loud. Okay, now I can play h4. They've just put themselves in a pin. That was very convenient for me. I'm threatening stuff like pawn h5. And this pin is pretty good for me. Hopefully I don't run into any drama. No, but I think they're pinned. So I think king h7 was a blunder. But obviously, sorry if I haven't said this yet, I don't think. We analyze these games, or at least I will analyze the game in the video after it is finished. We'll see what happened, sort of figure out what's going on. All right, we lost our pawn on g4. I'm kind of fine with that. I think we'll be able to recover. Okay, I'm running very low on time. Let's play bishop g3. Maybe bishop f3 could come into play. But this is getting into a bit of a time scramble, at least for me right now. I can trade these. I want to get something onto the H file. Ooh, let's not lose our pre-move. All right, so tricky position. I definitely messed up somewhere. I think I was winning for a bit. It's nice that this is pinned. I mean, they can get out of the pin. Not too difficult. I'm going to bring this rook over to H1. I do have the 3-second increment, so I'm not too worried about flagging. It's more just playing bad moves under pressure, which you guys know about. Something like Queen G4 doesn't even work too well because Rook F4. This pin is pretty deadly. I think my opponent made a big blunder allowing that to happen. Rook H1, we're going to target H5. Okay, now Queen G4. Yeah, that's harder to deal with. All right, well, we've got to go. Why don't we play? Well, we don't want to run into trouble with knight f4, right? All right, maybe we're in a bit of a, we might be in a bit of a situation just based on time here. I'm going to play queen f5. We may have to simplify just a little bit. They can't take because of this pin right here. Uh-oh, let's have that pre-move in. So now I am targeting h4. I think I'll win h4. I hope I'll win h4. And then I guess the material will be equal, but I think I have a better position there. Look at this pawn chain, guys. This is pretty crazy. All right, let's take. Pre-move rook takes. I don't see anything too scary here. Rook takes h4. Let's get that pre-move in. They're centralizing their knight. You know, that's a smart plan. Sort of trying out different things here. Also just trying to get a little bit of extra time with that increment. Okay, I hung the pawn on c3. That's not exactly what you want. All right, well, we've got the knight pinned. Tricky stuff, guys. Tricky stuff. All right, they took my other pawn. I'm going to play rook g5. I don't know if I'll sacrifice on g6. That looks a little dangerous, but I do want to bring okay, so they're attacking my bishop. Got to move that out of the way. Maybe knight h4 could come in, you know, bringing my knight over to h4. It wasn't clear. Knight f3. Knight h4 looks like a good option. They might start pushing these pawns. They're running low on time as well, guys. Let's keep that in mind. Knight c2. I think I can just play something like king d3. Run out of issues. All right, so I'm going to pick up this pawn right here. And they're in a little bit of trouble. You know, rook g7 is a big threat. All right, this is quite annoying. Oh my gosh, and we don't even have any time. Let's play rook g7 and then take back. I think my opponent is in a bit of trouble here. I mean, we're attacking their knight. We've equalized. Okay, they're going to hang their piece. That might just be due to time pressure as well. Definitely feeling, let's just play it safe, put our rook in front of this pawn. Definitely feeling better about this game now. Maybe probably should have lost earlier on, but now I believe we are going to win, pick up some, you know, lead chess rating points. All right, it looks like bishop h4 is coming next. No, king f6, and my opponent is most definitely in trouble here. So they hung the piece. That's a little unfortunate. It could have been a really cool endgame to play out, but you know, it happens, and we can pre-move this checkmate with a bishop. So okay, they're going to resign. All right, let's just take a look at this game quickly. Let's go back. We have our engine turned on. All right, what does the computer think of g4? It already gives us minus 0.9, which is not, you know, a big deficit. It just means I think black is slightly better positional reasons. But white, you know, as the game starts out, does have a slight advantage just by going first, and we lose that advantage with the Grob opening. But, you know, as we can see, okay, they don't like c3, but I think c3 was all right. And now we've equaled out. We're even, you know, whatever, plus 0.5, plus 0.2, however much more that is. Better. Knight c3. These look fine. It's kind of annoying. I don't know where my arrows are. Maybe they're just considering different moves. Queen a4. Did I completely miss? Ooh, wow, guys. You should have told me. I mean, you can't tell me it's a YouTube video, but I just completely missed this tactic right here because I think I'm just used to sort of not doing a tactic like this because I know knight c6 is a response. But what did I forget? I forgot that I completely played the Grob opening, and bishop takes c6 here is just going to be completely winning. I would have been up a piece. All right, so that's sort of just, maybe that's a failure of or a weakness of playing a new opening. So that's something to learn from. Queen b3 is not a bad move. It's just definitely not the best. B takes, knight c6, bishop f4 looks fine. This all looks fine. H3 is good. E3 they like better. I'm glad to hear it. We were considering E3 or E4 here. I don't know if you guys remember. Rook over, knight E2, all good. They like A4 here. I think castles is fine as well. A4 again. So I think they're interested in sort of just, punishing this knight for taking all this time to come over. And, playing A4, A5, you also just put pressure, a little more pressure on the queen side, but mainly to kick that knight out, I think is the reason. Rook E1 they like. Knight back, queen B5, queen C2 just seems better to me here. Knight C6, bishop G3. So now here was where I sort of had a little bit of trouble planning for the game, right? And that's just because it's blitz, it's because it's a new opening. You kind of have to come up with these ideas on your own. But here, I had different ideas. I had this idea, knight D3 and F4, but I think the pawn push that we started to get going was the right plan. Knight back, they think I'm much better here after E4. So I played F4 first. I guess E4 is a lot better because it is keeping this knight out from D5. So I'm assuming after F4, yeah, they're going to like knight D5 as a move. Knight D5 is going to attack E3. It's just more, they're putting a piece in the center. I'm curious, after E4, right, okay, so after E4, this would be problematic because E3 is being attacked. They could do E3 here, give me a fork. It doesn't say I'm down by that much. I think just because my position is so much more developed, I would have compensation for being down the exchange. But yeah, so E4 here would have been better. That's interesting. Now I got E4 in. Now it says I'm much better, right? So this is where I start to feel more confident about my position. They like F5, I think E5, yeah, pretty much the same thing. Knight C4, knight C1, perfect. F5, right. Knight G6, like we said, was not really a great move, kind of a wasted move. Knight F8, you could argue is fine because you're guarding G6 and H7 against future threats, but there's not really any threats there yet. This D5 was annoying, right? It made my bishop harder to sort of get on this diagonal like I wanted to a bunch of times. They don't like F6 here as much. They like knight D3. Let's see, what is the plan? The plan is to come to F4. I see, maybe play E6, create more problems. Even F6 as well could have worked there, I assume. All right, so knight F8. It's not bad to play F6. It's not the best move. G6. I played bishop F4, G5 back. Rook F3. Okay, this was where I was starting to be a little more rushed. Not too much, though. Oh, see, I spent 30 seconds on this move. I didn't know they had this feature on lead chess, but I started to get down to 26 seconds. It looks like here they like Rook F2. I'm not exactly sure why. C5 just looks like it attacks the pawn chain. Knight B3 will reinforce that. Maybe the idea is, the idea is a little unclear. Let's entertain the engine for a quick second. Oh, I see. Okay, so rearranging this bishop, this is the idea. That's really cool, actually. So the whole point, we can go back just because the point is, Rook F2 allows for some really interesting piece rearrangement. Now you're going to have some, it's not even a sacrifice, bishop takes G6. If we had, if we could place our bishop on, I can't move it. If we had our bishop on D3, takes, queen takes would be checkmate. Obviously, I don't have to take back with the pawn, but it would be deadly for them. So rook takes F2. That's a super cool plan. Here I played H4. They don't like that as much, probably because I'm going to lose that G4 pawn. Right, bishop takes G4, bishop back. And now here again, they really do like this plan to rearrange. So that's a really cool plan. Something I didn't have in mind, which I probably should have, because this bishop E4 was something that I really wanted to do a lot. All right, so we traded off a bit. I'm +4 here. So just because of this pin, I'm going to bring a piece over to the open file. But let's see, because I definitely messed it up at one point. They like Rook F5, and Rook F5, I definitely agree. Looking back, I'm attacking H5, and we are keeping that queen out. Now she cannot get into the position. That would be super smart. King G2, not as much. All right, we see this big drop, guys. All right, +10 here. So I make mistakes. You guys have seen the other videos. I'm sure you know I make mistakes. All chess players do. But Rook F5 is the best. Let's see, with best play for black, it just looks like they're struggling here. Knight C5 is just a little extra sort of kick to black's position. And black is just suffering here. Maybe even, well, I guess they would stay on this rook. here. Okay, rook h5. This is just problematic. Checkmate is going to come soon. We don't need to look too deep into this. All right. Oh, no, it looks like after king h8, we're still doing great. Okay, it is because of this rook f5 move. So obviously I missed that move. Rook h1 still winning, but not ideal. King f2 was the best move here. That's interesting. Pawn push, queen f5, takes. Knight d2. Did my opponent just completely hang a knight, and in my frenzy of 6 seconds not notice it? I guess so. All right. Well, that happens. That was unfortunate. So this is a mistake. So I missed a hanging piece too. Obviously something to work on. I did have 9 seconds and I was trying to talk, so it's a bit of a scramble. But we took, and this game sort of ended quite soon after this, if I remember. I lost some pawns, but it still says I'm better here just because these rooks are so inactive, I believe, and this knight is pinned. It's problematic. Rook over. This looks more drawish, the engine believes. Bishop back, king over, and then I have my knight f3, knight h4 plan, which they did like. Takes. Rook g8. Rook takes g8. They prefer here. I guess these two pawns are just going to be very deadly for black to deal with. I think rook g7 is fine as well. E6 would have been great here. Rook takes is still, black is pretty much lost here. And then we took the knight, and then this fell apart pretty quickly. So you can't see me, so you can't really see me, doing my usual hand movements to express my ideas. But what is the point being? What is the takeaway from the Grob? Is the takeaway that everyone should start playing the Grob? No, I don't think you guys should start playing the Grob. You have good opening. We're doing well. We don't need to pick up any new openings. The E4, D4, C4, maybe even Knight F3 classics are pretty good. We can stick with those. G4 is interesting to play. And it turned out this Bishop G2 that we had, second move, was key to the game. Not only to just see extra tactics that aren't even hard to find, you're just not used to them. Bishop takes C6. Weird rearranging techniques like Bishop F1, Bishop B3 that you're not usually used to because your Bishop usually just starts on F1. It doesn't make a lot of sense to move it back to its starting square. And then obviously we had some time scramble. We lost. We missed out on a few tricks, even a hanging piece. But the point is, right, you're playing a new opening. You just have to make up a plan on your own. And the point of this plan was sort of all based around this strong pawn structure that made a lot of pressure on black's king. So this was also sort of a video on attacking. So do not play the Grob unless you incredibly study it and you have all your tricks and you're absolutely going to be super precise playing it. Still would not really recommend it. But it was, my rendition, my attempt at the Grob opening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time, hopefully with my camera on. Bye, everybody.